everyone, good morning. You've tuned into Market Fatafat right here on ET Now, the show where you get a comprehensive wrap of the 30 stocks that you need to know in today's trading session. I'm Mubina Kapasi and let's kickstart the show first by introducing all of our experts and guests and research analysts who are going to join us for the next 30 minutes and giving you, of course, a heads up on what exactly you should watch out for. So we have Kunal Bothra, Pranay Jain, Pankaj Podar, Sarvendra Srivastav as well will be joining us, Poonam Sani, and of course Siddharth Bhamre. So thanks to all of you for joining in. And without any further ado, let's kickstart the show by telling you the first stock on our radar result reaction, and that's Natco Pharma. In fact, all of these mid-cap pharma companies have seen a lot of traction since yesterday's trading session. Natco Pharma today as well seems to be extending the gaining momentum. The numbers were pretty good because we had a top-line growth of 36%. Margin expansion as well quite significant from 42.6% to 52.5%. So a significant margin expansion is what we have witnessed. And the bottom line as well boosted by that strong operational profitability. So this is of course a stock on our radar. Slipped off from the day's high, but still higher by about 1.25% of it. Moving on to the second stock on our radar, Interglobe Aviation. Kunal, under pressure today in trade.
Absolutely, Mubina, and most of these aviation stocks, they are seeing a huge amount of selling pressure in the last 1.5 or 2 weeks. Interglobe Aviation is now trading below its 200 moving average, and also I think this intense selling pressure has been making most of these indicators oversold. So the stock may take some more time to consolidate over here, but the fact that this intense selling pressure has come across in the last 1.5 or 2 weeks, I think could play a bit heavy on the stock in the near term.
Okay, that's of course Interglobe Aviation for you, declining today in trade. But Jain Irrigation, however, on the flip side is doing pretty well. In fact, it's rallied for the third straight session today, and once again on account of the Q4 numbers, which the street clearly seems to be cheering. So the top line growth has come in at 25.6%. Bottom line has jumped up a good 20%. And then, of course, we do have the EBITDA, which has grown 9.7% on a year-on-year basis, causing the margins, or rather the EBITDA, to come in at about 391 crore rupees. So that's Jain Irrigation for you today in focus in trade. Moving on to the next stock on our radar, ONGC. Pranay, it's under pressure, but that's of course the case even with a lot of the energy stocks. The energy basket seems to be under pressure.
Yes, for two reasons. The reason why ONGC has been weak is because it was expected that the government may tell the company to sell crude at a lower price to the OMC, so therefore it cannot benefit fully from the rising international crude oil prices. That is as per expectation. Otherwise, if it were fully deregulated, then the stock would have been rallying and hitting new highs, since it is the best time of the year for the company. But yes, overall the energy basket has been weak because GRMs for OMCs has been weak. But for upstream companies like ONGC too, this is a concern until we have full clarity from the government as to at what level will it be able to sell crude to the AMCs, because that is definitely going to cap the realization benefit for the company.
Well, yeah, the same cannot be said for the consumers though, and once again it's another aviation stock that's on our radar. Away from ONGC, Pankaj, Jet Airways, it also delivered a loss in the quarter gone by.
Right, I think Kunal and you were just discussing about Interglobe Aviation, and if I just look at Jet Airways and what's happening over there, so losses came higher than anticipated, yields were very, very low, and that's taken the stock down to a 19-month low. Remember, it's a stock which has done well. Other expenses were high, and this stock now, since the time Interglobe Aviation has declared its numbers, is down greater than 30-odd%. So let's see, con call today at 4 p.m, a lot of clarity needed.
At 8.5% down for Jet Airways. This one certainly is a sore loser in trade. Moving on, Sarvendra, V-Mart, it's been a great wealth creator. Today as well, it's up in trade. We're expecting the Q4 numbers. What are your observations on the chart? Okay, I think there seems to be just a bit of technical, a problem on that line. We're going to try and fix that. But yeah, talking about V-Mart, the trajectory has been very strong for V-Mart. It's been gaining for 2 out of the last 3 sessions. Like I said, we have the Q4 earnings as well that are expected today. But I think what Sarvendra believes is that it looks like this stock is an very overbought stock, and he does not perceive any such fresh risk rewards in this counter. So he's a bit circumspect, but nevertheless, it's a big buzzer today in trade, higher by about 2.7% at 2,335 rupees. Moving on, stock number 7, Sun Pharma. Poonam, down today in trade. The Q4 numbers as well, or rather up today in trade, and we're expecting the Q4 numbers tomorrow.
That's right. It's up ahead of the results tomorrow. In fact, if you, Mubina, if you look at the Taro results, they were pretty much good. They were slightly higher than estimates, but there are expectations that the standalone results may be slightly at the weaker end, and also the US pricing pressure does continue overall in terms of the entire pharma sector. So we'll really have to see how Sun Pharma really shapes up tomorrow. But as of now, definitely up in trade ahead of results tomorrow.
Okay, 466 is where Sun Pharma is. It's declined quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, but today, however, it is higher in trade. Pankaj, Tara Motors, this one as well is a sole loser in trade, right at the bottom of the Nifty losers list.
Absolutely, and this comes in on the back of numbers, the management commentary that came in. It led to a EPS downgrade of around 6 to 7% odd. People have not downgraded their call, so if somebody was buy or outperform, he's kept that, but at the same time cut down on target price, cut down on EPS estimates, and the stock clearly reacting to new earnings.
And Tara Motors is down big time in trade. In fact, just on a year-to-date basis, the stock as well has cracked a good 25%. AB Fashion, meantime, is as well something on our radar. Today's Economic Times reported that Samara Capital may be in talks to buy the retail unit more. Remember, it is in the supermarket zone, so its peer is, of course, stocks like a Future Retail or a Shoppers Stop, and more seems to be purchased by Samara Capital. Of course, it's just in initial talks, but Samara is saying, or rather ET is saying, that the due diligence by Samara Capital is complete, and the amount for which they are willing to buy that unit is at about 2,500 crore rupees. AB Fashion, by the way, is higher by 2.6%. Moving on, stock number 10, Siddharth, Just Dial. I understand it's out of F&O ban today. It's been a stock that's been very active the last couple of sessions.
Well, in fact, throughout the May series, we are seeing it. The series started on a very bad note, 2 days of very significant correction, and then there was a bounce back, and now stock is consolidating. As you pointed out, Just Dial and Jet Airways, both stocks are out of F&O ban, and now what this is given is that it has given people who have positions to start rolling over their position, and that's the reason you are seeing 21% rise in open interest in today's trading session. Having said that, mid-cap index is correcting substantially over a period of time, but Just Dial has been outperforming. So my guess is that these positions which are getting rolled over are more of long positions.
Okay, that's Just Dial for you. 10 down, 20 stocks to go. Pranay, can't keep our eyes off the energy pack. HPCL, once again a sore loser.
Yes, and as you pointed it out, it's corrected about 25% from the recent highs. It's been a big underperformer despite being the most operationally efficient oil retailer over here. That's because the company is still awaiting some clarity. As of now, there is no subsidy burden that has been levied on the OMCs. We didn't see that in Q4, but that is a risk that is looming on these companies in Q1, as it's always happened before as well. But since deregulation, this is something that the companies have generally been away from. However, it's a risk that is looming on them right now. Also, there is a lot of talk of reduction in excise rates. While that may not directly affect the OMCs because it impacts the tax collection of the states, but that is also another point which is linked to the OMCs.
Another 2% gone for HPCL after seeing sharp cuts of almost about 6 to 7% in yesterday's trading session. Moving on, Pankaj, PNC Infratech, what is it that's causing this stock to spike up in trade?
Well, they declared numbers, and I was looking at the underlying execution, which seems to be extremely strong. Stock is up 4%. Remember, it's a high beta name, and the high beta names in this market are not doing particularly that well. Margins are up 110 basis points versus estimates. Con call is going on right now. 11:30 a.m. is when the con call was scheduled. So let's just see if they give out any comments. Overall, very strong numbers from PNC.
And that's causing the stock price as well to spike up 4.3% higher as we speak. Next up, Sobha Developers gaining for the second straight session. Poonam, what is it that you're observing there?
Well, that's right. In fact, if you look at Sobha Developers, the results were fairly good. The stock is fairly up, nearly around 8% in the last two trading sessions. In fact, Edel, post the results, have stated a buy on the stock with a target price of 668. They're stating that some of the key positives for Sobha is the fact that they do have a robust launch pipeline. A market share gain is also one of the key factors, and also they do have a diversified land bank, and overall they do expect the cash flows for Sobha Developers improving.
Okay, so that's quite optimistic commentary coming in on Sobha developers. We've had brokerages as well giving this one a thumbs up. But Grasim, meantime, declining big time, 2.8% lower for the counter. It delivered its Q4 numbers yesterday. Pranay, today the stock is of course down in trade.
Well, nothing to write home about when it comes to their numbers, which is why brokerages like Motilal Oswal have maintained a neutral stance. Also, there is no immediate growth trigger for the company, hence nothing much to look forward to from investors' point of view over here, which is why if you look at the stock, it actually in the opening fell most that we've seen in the last 2 months, and right now it's trading close to its 11-month lows.
All right, 1,017 rupees is where Grasim is trading at. 15 stock on our radar. Siddharth, the other Tata Motor DVR stock that you have identified.
Well, we discussed enough about Tata Motors and its numbers, but DVR and its correlation with Tata Motors, and this is more statistical and nothing to do fundamental. Now, if Tata Motors is at Feb 2016 low, then Tata Motors DVR is at October 2013 low. And at the same time, it's trading at 43 to 42% discount to Tata Motors, clearly suggesting that it is quite cheap compared to Tata Motors. And DVRs are generally an instrument which has less voting rights but have high dividend yields. So downside seems to be less from here. And today too, if you see, there is some amount of outperformance. If Tata Motors is down by 6.75%, then DVR is down by 4%. So participants are not so negative on DVR at this point of time, though we are seeing some formation of shorts in futures segment.
Okay, that's Tata Motors DVR for you, essentially understanding the entire differential between that and of course the Tata Motors regular stock. But 15 down, 15 more to go. Pankaj, CESC, what is it that you're observing there?
Right, so CESC declared its numbers yesterday. They had a con call post market hours, and the demerger over there has been the big buzz. The management gave a timeline. Q2 is when they are expecting the con call, when they are expecting the entire demerger to happen and get listed, and that's one of the key triggers. However, brokerages have not really liked the numbers, and they have said that it's marginally lower. That's why even the stock is looking marginally lower.
Yeah, just about slightly lower today and trade down 0.1%. That's of course a conference call that CESC as well had yesterday post market hours. Kunal, Indiabulls Housing, what is it in terms of trends that you're spotting in that stock?
So I think fifth straight week of selling, Mubina, and the stock from 1380, 1400 levels is now just about in touching distance of breaking that 1100 mark, trading below the long-term 50 and the 200 moving averages as well for Indiabulls Housing, and the support or the strong support on the monthly charts have been breached, which was around that 1200 mark for Indiabulls Housing. So I think that till the time the stock does not break this level once again, it could continue to spiral lower.
Okay, that's Indiabulls Housing for you. But moving on, Pranay, a lot of these mid-cap IT names seem to be doing very well, not only in terms of stock price movement, but even in terms of Q4 numbers. KPIT Tech as well, no exception there.
Well, yes, it's shown very good growth in this closing quarter, beating the street estimates. Going forward too, they've given the guidance of about 8 to 10% dollar revenue growth, which is significantly better than many of the last few years, and also while guiding with EBITDA margins of about 11.5 to 12.5%. So all this augurs well, but another reason why it is buzzing is because it's been tracking very well on its progress for the merger and demerger, which is expected to unlock value for the current investors.
Okay, that's KPIT Tech for you, doing very well in trade. So are some of the other mid-cap IT names as well. So, Sarvendra, Imami, what is it that you're observing in terms of trends for this counter? Because it's been gaining, in fact, for the last couple of days as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think the stock, the silver lining here is that we have kind of held to the 1000 psychological mark for the last now around 12 odd months. So multiple supports around that level. So I see that as long as we hold the psychological mark, I think people should hold on to their positions. Anybody wanting to participate fresh should keep 1000 as a stop loss. Stop loss is just below 1000, and I would assume that the stock could probably go and retest the all-time highs at around 1380, 1400. So this will be a 6 to 12 month trade. But I think as long as we are staying above 1000, this is a good buy side risk reward.
Oh yeah, in fact, we are seeing quite a good gaining momentum in Imami. It's at about 1065 odd rupees, and Sarvendra believes that it may as well touch the all-time high number of about 1300 odd rupees as well. But moving on, not so good news coming in for some of the auto makers that do supply to the United States, because now after pharma, after metals, it looks like Donald Trump is now eyeing the auto space. It has been doing so for some time now. It was looking at Europe, and now it looks like Donald Trump wants to impose tariffs on vehicle imports. He's spoken about some numbers as well, what is the percentage he wants to impose, but at this point of time, nothing is on stone. Nevertheless, some of the stocks that do provide significantly to not only the US, but even Europe, etc. Like take, for example, Motherson Sumi and Bharat Forge, of course, is the stock that we are talking about right now. It's down by about 4.5%. So clearly, these stocks are reacting to that news piece. Bharat Forge at 655.4 rupees. It's a big loser today in trade. But Poonam, Dilip Buildcon as well is a stock that's declining big time in trade. What is it that you're seeing over there in terms of, the trend?
That's right. Moving if you in fact look at this, the Bitcoin stock, it is down considerably in trade, down nearly around 20% in just about 2 weeks, from around over 1300 levels. The stock is down back to nearly around 1100 odd levels at a 2-month low. Promoters in fact have pledged some of their shares to RBL Bank, but that seems to be only as an interim requirement on account of certain certain project requirement. Seems to be just a temporary development out there. However, probably the stock is under pressure because of that, not quite sure. However, if you actually look at the overall balance sheet, they do have a fairly strong balance sheet with a debt equity ratio of just around 1.3 odd x and a strong order flow visibility as well, and a fairly strong in terms of the overall execution, and the entire focus on the road sector leads them to be one of the very strong players in the entire road sector place. Nomura also has a buy with a target price of 1347, so watch out for this stock.
Okay, that's Dilip Buildcon for you. But Pranay, GAIL is as well a counter that we are focusing on. It's down today in trade big time. We are awaiting the Q4 numbers.
Well, yes, while numbers are expected to be good because Petchem segment should be contributing well to its profitability, the reason why the counter is weak because of the overall weakness we are seeing in the entire energy basket. As it is with upstream companies, I mentioned earlier that just like with ONGC, there is a risk looming of either capping the realizations for them or any kind of subsidy burden or sharing, which would definitely weigh down their profitability, which is why until we have clarity from the government on that, the stock is mostly going to be range bound and weak.
Okay, that's stock number 22 on our radar. GAIL, Q4 numbers expected today, and it's not going to be a bad set of numbers. We're expecting the margins to expand by about 300 basis points. Petchem profitability is something that most people are expecting will be good, but apart from that, we would also want to watch out for the pending tariff revisions. We want to watch out for the key pipeline tariffs, and not only that, if there's any sort of revision in the US contract. So these are some of the factors as well that the street would be watching out for when GAIL comes out with its Q4 numbers. But Poonam, Repco Home Finance, we had the management as well earlier on the channel. What is it that they indicated? What is the trend you're spotting in Repco Home Finance?
Well, in fact, if you observe Repco Home Finance, it's been consolidating in the range of 550 to 600 odd levels in the quite a few weeks there. However, we did see fairly good results in terms of Q4. The disbursements were fairly strong, growing nearly 29% quarter-on-quarter and 28% YOY. We're also seeing 20 bips margin expansion quarter-on-quarter, and also the NPAs have improved QOQ. Management commentary also is fairly upbeat. In fact, the management on the channel did indicate that they are seeing further strong growth coming in for the company, and they're also eyeing to bring down the GNPAs to below 2% odd level versus the current 2.8% level, and they do plan to focus now on relatively lower ticket size in terms of LAP versus the higher ticket size, and hence probably the going is going to be slightly better for Repco Home Finance.
Okay, and that stock, however, is a bit under pressure today, down by 0.6%. Though, of course, mind you, it has significantly extended the earlier losses that it was witnessing. It was trading, I think, last at the level of about 584 rupees. Now, of course, it's gone deeper in the red. Siddharth, Voltas, it's a stock that has come under significant pressure. Its peer Symphony as well was down in trade. What is it that you're observing in this counter?
Well, one should remember that on Friday's trading session, there was a huge gap down opening for Voltas, and that happened on a record volume. And then next 3 trading sessions, stock just consolidated with okay sort of volumes. And today again, Mubina, we are witnessing that within first 1.5 hours of trading session, volumes not just in futures segment, but also in cash market surpassed, yesterday's volume. And open interest has also increased by around 5%, 6%. So clearly the selling has started again, and Friday's lows have been breached So that means there is still more selling to go.
Okay, so a bit circumspect when it comes to Voltas. There could be some more selling pressure based on, of course, the technicals, the volume trend and the chart patterns for Voltas. The stock right now under pressure, down by about 2.6% in trade. But Pankaj, on the flip side, we are seeing some buying coming by in a Kaveri Seeds. It's higher by a good 7% in trade. 505 is where it's trading.
Right, and there seemed to be a bulk deal impact that has happened onto this name. You have a well-known investor, Monish Pomeroy Fund, which has come out and bought 1.2% stake. It's been a long while you've seen any big institution coming into this name, and you can clearly see it's a relief rally, 6% high. I would not be surprised looking at the F&O data post-market today, where there could be a sense of a lot of short covering as well as the delivery data. Both of that would be interesting.
Okay, that's Kaveri Seeds. But before we move on and take on board the last 5 stocks, let's just go across then to a developing story in relation to the BNB Nirav Modi scam. The Enforcement Directorate is what we understand is all set to file its first charge sheet against Diamond company and absconder Nirav Modi, with the agency now empowered under the new Fugitive Economic Offenders Law. The enforcement agency expects to expedite the auction process. Vijay Iyer is standing by with the details. Vijay, what's the details that have been put out in the charge sheet against Nirav Modi, and when is it expected to be filed?
Firstly, what we gather is that the first charge sheet under the PMLA Enforcement Directorate is likely to be filed today or early by tomorrow. Having said that, this would be on the ECIR filed by ED to the tune of 6,500 crore of money laundering in the PNB Nirav Modi. Now, what we understand is that money trail of close to 6,000 crores details have been mentioned in the charge sheet. Also, as per the attachments of Nirav Modi Go, movable attachment to the tune of close to 5,500 crores have been mentioned, and the details have been given, which include his houses, his watches, and also his other attachments done during the investigation. And the whole interesting aspect would be on the diamonds that have been seized during the raids conducted by Enforcement Directorate. They had indeed done an independent evaluation of the valuation, but there are indications that it would not be on the expected lines, perhaps on the downside, so around 1,500 to 2,000 crores worth diamonds. So cumulatively, around 7,000 to 7,500 crores attachments will be mentioned. So all important first charge sheet is set to be filed by the Enforcement Directorate today or by tomorrow.
We'll wait out for the details of that chart sheet. Many thanks, Vijay, for bringing us that story. But very quickly, down to the last 5 stocks on market. Fatafat, Kunal, Motherson Sumi, I flagged off Bharat Forge. This one as well is tanking.
Yes, Mubina, and tanking on big volumes. So yesterday and today, you look at the kind of volume patterns for Motherson Sumi, and the stock is now clearly showing signs of fresh breakdown. There is one key support around this 295 mark. So if the stock breaks that 295 mark as well, you could see some intense selling pressure getting accentuated over the next few days.
Okay, Motherson Sumi, Poonam, Eros International, big loser in trade today.
Well, that's right. In fact, if you look at Eros International, we did see some amount of weakness in terms of the stock, although the results out there are not all that bad. But yes, some amount of weakness definitely in Eros International.
Actually, it's my bad, Poonam. It's actually a big gainer today in trade. In fact, as we speak, it's 14.9% higher for Eros International, so not bad at all. Sarvendra, Castrol India, this one is, however, seeing some weakness today in trade.
Yeah, I think the stock is very, very critically poised right now, and looking at the entire crude picture, if it breaks and holds above 80 on the Brent, then probably we'll see another 10-15% upside there. So my sense here is that if we break 287, this stock could actually tank all the way till 250, 240. So 287 is critical. A closing below that, a decisive closing below that with volume will take it down to 250.
Okay, that's of course Castrol India for you. Another stock that's losing today in trade is Godrej Industries. It delivered its Q4 numbers. It wasn't a bad set at all because we had a top line growth of 17.5%, and the margins as well expanded significantly from 7.6% to 13.5%, leading to the bottom line to grow by a good 4.5 times. But the stock, however, under a bit of pressure in trade today. Siddharth, finally, the last stock, Infosys.
Session, and especially in last 15 minutes or half an hour, if I'm not wrong, there was a news flow that a whistleblower has returned to Indian regulator SEBI as well as US about that how management has been disappointing, and to that news flow Infosys corrected 1%, and now today, complete contradictory to what happened yesterday, it's reaching to its 2-year high closing, and if it moves maybe 2-3 percentage points more, then it would be an all-time high closing for Infosys, and this is backed by some formation of long positions and strong volumes. So clearly a large cap stock completely ignoring that news flow and moving higher.
Okay, well, there you have it, a wrap of the 30 stocks that you need to know in your trading session. Thanks to all of you for joining in. Sarvendra, to you as well for giving your recommendations as well as your sense on stocks. We will wrap it up on this edition of the show. Come back at 1:30 for a new edition of Market Fatafat.